Welcome back to our channel US Coins World. Today, we're diving into the world of rare Washington quarter dollar coins. Some of these could be worth a small fortune. If you've got quarters lying around, you won't want to miss this. Let's find out if you're sitting on hidden treasure. So let's continue our today's video on Top 1. Today we're diving into one of the most iconic quarters in American coin history, the 1776 to 1976 Washington Bicentennial Quarter. You've probably seen one before. Maybe you even have one lying in a drawer or tucked away in an old coin jar. But did you know, one of these coins could be worth a small fortune? Yes, what looks like a common coin could actually be hiding something rare, valuable, and historically significant. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll find out what makes one special 1776 to 1976 quarter worth a jaw-dropping amount. Let's start with the backstory. Because this coin isn't just metal, it's a piece of America's 200-year celebration. In 1976, the United States celebrated its bicentennial, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. To mark the occasion, the U.S. Mint released special commemorative coins, including a unique edition of the Washington Quarter. Unlike the usual eagle design on the back, these quarters feature a drummer boy, a revolutionary soldier proudly playing a drum, designed by Jack L. Ahr. And on the front, of course, we still have George Washington's classic portrait. Instead of a single date, the quarter features dual dates, 1776 to 1976, a symbolic nod to both the birth of the nation and the celebration 2 centuries later. These quarters were struck in both Philadelphia, Denver, and for collectors, a limited number were made in San Francisco in 40% silver. Now, here's where things get interesting. While hundreds of millions of these bicentennial quarters were minted and circulated, only a tiny fraction are valuable, and some are extraordinarily valuable. So what makes a 1776 to 1976 quarter worth more than just 25 cents? It all comes down to 3 key things: rarity, condition, and minting errors. Let's talk about rarity first. The most valuable bicentennial quarters weren't made for general circulation. They were proof coins or silver-clad coins, intended for collectors. If you happen to find one of these special editions, especially still in its original packaging or in mint state condition, you're already looking at something more valuable than your average pocket change. Next up, errors. And this is where things get really exciting. Some bicentennial quarters left the mint with serious mistakes. One of the most well-known and rare errors is the double die obverse. This means the coin was struck twice slightly off-center, causing the text and features, like Liberty, In God We Trust, or even Washington's profile, to appear doubled. These kinds of errors are highly sought after and can multiply a coin's value many times over. Another rare error is the off-center strike, where the coin was not perfectly aligned during minting. Part of the design ends up shifted to one side, sometimes leaving a crescent of blank space on the coin. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value, especially if the full date is still visible. There are also wrong planchet errors, where a quarter is accidentally struck on a blank meant for a different denomination, like a nickel or a foreign coin. These are extremely rare and almost always require professional grading to verify. But once confirmed, they can fetch serious money from collectors. And of course, clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is literally cut off during production, are also considered valuable, especially when they are dramatic and clean. But even without errors, condition matters. If your bicentennial quarter is in mint state, with no scratches, dings, or signs of wear, it could already be worth far more than face value. Coins graded MS-66 or higher are especially rare from this period, and collectors will pay top dollar to get one that's nearly flawless. Let's not forget about silver content. If you have a 40% silver bicentennial quarter, especially one from a San Francisco proof set, you're already dealing with something more valuable than a regular copper-nickel version. These silver quarters were never meant to be spent, but some have accidentally made their way into circulation. If you find one, hold on to it. So how can you tell if your 1776 to 1976 quarter might be worth something big? Start by checking the mint mark. Look for an S for San Francisco. These are often silver or proof coins. Then, examine the condition. Look for signs of doubling, off-center designs, or any odd shapes and patterns. And if you think you've got something special, consider getting it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. That certification can confirm your coin's rarity and unlock its full market value. Now, for the part you've been waiting for. 1 Extremely rare bicentennial quarter, featuring a major minting error, struck in pristine condition, and authenticated by grading professionals, shocked the numismatic world when it reached a mind-blowing auction price. That single quarter was valued at $85,000. Yes, you heard that right. $85,000. For a coin you might have overlooked in your change jar.so before you spend a quarter on a soda or drop it into a parking meter, take a closer look. The next great discovery could be sitting quietly in your pocket. Top 2. We're focusing on a coin that millions of Americans have handled, but only a few know could be hiding a surprising secret. That's right, we're talking about the 1979 United States Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin might seem like just another piece of loose change. It's been in circulation for decades, it looks ordinary, and for most people, it's just another 25 cents. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find that certain 1979 quarters have become highly valuable collectibles, and in rare cases, they've sold for tens of thousands of dollars. Let's unravel why. The 1979 quarter carries the classic Washington design that's been a part of American coinage since 1932. George Washington's profile graces the obverse, facing left, with the word "Liberty" above and the national motto, "In God We Trust," on the side. On the reverse, we see the proud American eagle, wings spread wide, clutching arrows and framed by olive branches, a symbol of America's strength and peace. This particular year saw quarters minted in 3 major facilities: Philadelphia, with no mint mark, Denver, with a D, and San Francisco, with an S for proof coins. Each mint produced millions, which is why many people assume these coins are common. But as collectors know, rarity isn't always about how many were made, it's about how many survived in exceptional condition or with unique errors, and that's where the magic lies. Let's talk about mint errors, because these are the key to unlocking massive value. 1 of the most famous errors in the 1979 Washington quarter series is the double die obverse. This occurs when the coin is struck twice by the die, but slightly misaligned, creating a doubled appearance on the date, lettering, or even Washington's profile. If you see a coin with what looks like ghosting or shadows in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," you might be holding something very special. Another highly sought-after mistake is the off-center strike. This error happens when the coin isn't properly aligned during minting, and part of the design ends up shifted or cut off. If the error is significant and the date is still visible, collectors are willing to pay top dollar for it. Then we have the rare and fascinating wrong planchet error. Imagine a quarter struck on a blank meant for a dime, a nickel, or even a foreign coin. The size, weight, and appearance can be completely off. These errors are extremely rare, and when authenticated, they can be worth thousands. There's also the clipped planchet error. This is when a portion of the metal blank was cut improperly before being struck, resulting in a coin with a noticeable crescent-shaped chunk missing. These aren't just cool to look at, they're collectible and can carry a high premium, but beyond errors, there's one more critical factor that determines a coin's value: condition. Most 1979 quarters have been through the ringer, passed through hundreds of hands, scraped across vending machines, and jingled around in pockets for decades. But a select few manage to survive in mint state condition. These coins are virtually flawless, with sharp detail, no wear, and stunning luster. Coins that are professionally graded at MS 66 or higher are rare, and valuable, and let's not forget proof coins. In 1979, the San Francisco Mint produced proof quarters for collectors. These coins have a mirror-like finish and are struck with special care. But sometimes, mistakes even happen with these coins, such as proof errors, like missing layers or frosting issues. If you come across a proof quarter with strange coloring or missing details, don't dismiss it, it could be a valuable anomaly. What makes the 1979 quarter especially exciting is how overlooked it often is. Unlike commemorative or silver quarters, it doesn't scream collectible. But that's what makes it so thrilling, because the treasure is hiding in plain sight. And now, for the big reveal, the part that gets every collector's heart racing. 1 Remarkable 1979 Washington quarter, struck with a significant mint error and preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, shocked the coin collecting world when it sold at auction. After being authenticated and graded, its value blew away expectations. That single quarter sold for an unbelievable $83,000, yes, you heard that right. $83,000 for a 25-cent coin. So before you toss that quarter into a vending machine or drop it in your car's cup holder, take a closer look. You might be holding a tiny piece of treasure, history, rarity, and hidden value all wrapped into one simple coin. Top 3. We're diving deep into the story of the 1991 United States Washington quarter dollar. It may seem like an ordinary coin, but under the right circumstances, one of these quarters can be worth far more than just 25 cents. So, sit back, listen closely, and enjoy the fascinating tale of a coin that's far more valuable than most people realize. Now, let's rewind to the early 1990s. The year was 1991, compact discs were taking over, cell phones were the size of bricks, and in the US Mint, millions of quarters were rolling off the production line. Most of these coins were used in everyday transactions, soda machines, parking meters, toll booths. But buried among the masses were a handful of exceptional pieces. Coins that, due to minting errors, rarity, and pristine preservation, would eventually become true collector's treasures. So, what makes the 1991 Washington quarter stand out? Let's start with its design. On the obverse, we have the iconic profile of George Washington, a design created by John Flanagan that has remained largely unchanged since 1932. On the reverse, the familiar image of the American eagle perched proudly with wings outstretched, arrows in its talons, and olive branches beneath, an image symbolizing both power and peace. While the design may not be unique, the stories behind certain 1991 quarters definitely are. First, let's talk about errors, because when it comes to rare and valuable coins, errors are like gold dust. And the 1991 quarter is no exception. One of the most notable and sought-after errors is the double die obverse. This error happens when the coin die strikes the metal blank more than once but misaligned, causing the lettering or portrait to appear doubled. If you spot doubling in the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," or even the date, you could be looking at a very rare specimen. Then we have the off-center strike error. This occurs when the planchet, that's the blank coin, is not properly aligned with the die during the strike. The result? A coin where the design is shifted to one side, sometimes dramatically. If the coin still displays the full date and enough detail, the value can skyrocket. There's also the broad strike error, which happens when the coin is struck outside the retaining collar. This causes the rim of the coin to appear stretched or expanded, an unusual and easily recognizable feature that collectors find fascinating. Another rare and valuable variation is the wrong planchet error. Imagine a quarter accidentally being struck on a blank intended for a nickel or even a foreign coin. It's a freak accident, but when it happens, and it gets authenticated, the value goes through the roof. Let's not forget about the clipped planchet error, where a portion of the metal blank is literally clipped off before the coin is struck. This produces a noticeable crescent or chunk missing from the coin, creating an eye-catching and rare collectible. But even if your 1991 quarter doesn't have an error, that doesn't mean it's worthless. In fact, condition is everything. Coins that are uncirculated, meaning they were never used in transactions and show no signs of wear, are incredibly valuable, especially if they're graded highly by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. If a 1991 quarter is graded MS 65 or higher, it means it's in mint state, with sharp details, strong luster, and flawless surfaces. And here's something many collectors overlook: toning. That's the natural color change a coin goes through over time, especially silver and nickel-based coins. A beautifully toned 1991 quarter, think vibrant blues, purples, and golds, can significantly increase a coin's aesthetic appeal and collector value. So, how can you tell if your quarter is one of the rare ones? Start by checking for obvious errors, doubling, misalignments, or missing chunks. Look at the surface. Does it look untouched by time, or is it worn and faded? If you think you've got something special, get it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. That official certification could be the key to unlocking the coin's true value. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. While most 1991 quarters are only worth their face value, one incredibly rare example, featuring a significant minting error and preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, shocked the numismatic world when it was auctioned. That single quarter was valued at an astonishing $80,000, yes, you heard that right, $80,000. For a coin most people wouldn't even look twice at. So the next time you get change from the store, don't just drop it into a jar or feed it into a parking meter. Examine it. You never know, you could be holding a forgotten piece of history, a hidden gem waiting to be discovered. Top 4. We're exploring the fascinating world of everyday pocket change, and uncovering the extraordinary story behind a coin that many of us have probably handled without ever realizing its hidden value. Yes, we're talking about the 1994 United States Washington quarter dollar, a coin that looks ordinary but, in the right condition and with the right features, could be hiding a serious treasure. If you've ever glanced at your spare change and thought, nah, nothing special here, think again. Because one rare version of the 1994 Washington quarter has stunned collectors by reaching a value that could change someone's life. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know what to look for, and what could make your quarter worth thousands. Let's begin with the basics. The Washington quarter has been a staple of U.S. currency since 1932, originally created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1994, the coin's design was well established. Washington's bust on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan, and a majestic eagle on the reverse, wings spread wide, gripping a bundle of arrows with olive branches below, a perfect blend of strength and peace. Now, while the design itself didn't change much, the real excitement lies beneath the surface, in the minting process, the small details, and the rare mistakes that make some of these coins extremely valuable. In 1994, the quarters were minted in Philadelphia, marked with AP, and Denver, marked with AD. And while both mints produced millions of quarters that year, only a tiny handful emerged with unique characteristics that collectors would go wild over. Let's talk about those features, because they're what separate a common coin from a collectible worth thousands. The first major factor: minting errors. These are the holy grail for collectors. One rare error to look out for is the double die obverse. That's when the coin's design is struck twice slightly off register, causing a doubled appearance in the date, the lettering, or even George Washington's face. If you see what looks like shadowing on Liberty or In God We Trust, don't ignore it. You might have a true gem on your hands. Another rare and valuable error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, resulting in a design that is shifted to one side, sometimes even leaving part of the design off the coin entirely. The more off-center it is, while still showing the full date, the more valuable it becomes. Then there's the broad strike error. This error occurs when the coin is struck outside of the retaining collar, causing it to spread out and appear slightly larger than normal with a flattened rim. It's subtle, but a trained eye can spot it, and collectors love these quirky coins. Even more fascinating is the wrong planchet error. Imagine a quarter being mistakenly struck on a blank meant for a nickel or a foreign coin. These types of errors are incredibly rare and are always a hot topic at coin shows and auctions. There's also the clipped planchet error, where a small section of the coin is missing due to an irregular cut before it was struck. These errors are visible immediately and can add significant value, especially when they are clean and dramatic. But let's not forget the most important factor of all: condition. A coin's condition, graded on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, can drastically affect its value. A 1994 quarter that's been through years of use might only be worth face value. But a quarter in mint state condition, we're talking MS 65 or higher, is a different story altogether. These coins have never been used, show no signs of wear, and maintain that sharp, brilliant luster that collectors crave. And here's something that not everyone knows: even coins without errors can fetch high prices if they're preserved perfectly. Toning, that beautiful natural color change that can produce shades of gold, purple, or blue, can actually make a coin more appealing to certain collectors. So if you think you have a 1994 quarter that looks especially clean, well-defined, or just different from the rest, it might be worth a professional evaluation. Getting your coin graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC can give it an official certification, and dramatically increase its market value. Alright, now for the part you've been waiting for. The value reveal. while the vast majority of 1994 Washington quarters are worth no more than their face value, one extraordinary coin, featuring a rare mint error and in pristine, uncirculated condition, took the spotlight at a coin auction. That single coin, with all its rare features and perfect preservation, was valued at an astounding $78,000. Yes, you heard that right. $78,000. For a coin you might have thought was just another quarter. Before you spend your change on a snack or slide it into a toll machine, take a closer look. Because hidden among the ordinary, there just might be a rare and valuable piece of history waiting to be discovered. Top 5. We're going on an exciting journey into the world of modern coin collecting, where even a simple quarter could be hiding a fortune. You may have seen or even used one of these countless times without realizing what it could be worth. That's right. We're talking about the 1998 United States Washington quarter dollar, and believe it or not, under just the right circumstances, this humble coin could be worth thousands. So, grab your magnifying glass, get comfortable, and listen carefully, because you might just discover that you've been holding on to a valuable piece of history. Now, let's set the stage. The year is 1998, just before the launch of the 50-state quarters program, which would begin in 1999 and change how Americans viewed the quarter forever. But before that era of commemorative designs began, the 1998 Washington quarter was part of the final run of the classic eagleback design, making it a coin of transition and historical significance. Let's talk about the design. The obverse features the enduring profile of George Washington, facing left, originally sculpted by John Flanagan. The inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the year, 1998, are all familiar to any American. On the reverse side, we see the majestic heraldic eagle, wings spread, perched above a bundle of arrows and framed by olive branches, symbolizing strength and peace. It's a classic and iconic look, but here's the thing, millions of these coins were produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. So how can a coin that seems so common end up being worth a small fortune? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and minting errors. Let's start with the most thrilling aspect for collectors, errors. These are mistakes made during the minting process, and they're often the result of a misalignment, mechanical malfunction, or human error at the U.S. Mint. While these mistakes are rare, they create coins that are incredibly unique and highly desirable among numismatists. One of the most famous errors to look out for in the 1998 quarter is the double die error, specifically on the obverse. If you notice that the letters in "Liberty" or the date look slightly duplicated or shadowed, it could be a double die variety. This kind of error is one of the most sought after in all of coin collecting and can dramatically increase the value of a coin. Then there's the off-center strike. If your 1998 quarter appears misaligned, with part of the design shifted to the edge or partially missing, you could be holding an off-center error. Depending on how dramatic the shift is, and whether the date is still visible, this type of coin can be worth far more than face value. Another exciting error is the broad strike, which occurs when the coin is struck outside of its retaining collar, causing it to appear slightly stretched or flattened, with no defined rim. These coins are easy to spot and are favorites among error collectors. Perhaps even rarer are wrong planchet errors, where a quarter is mistakenly struck on a blank meant for another denomination or even a foreign coin. These are incredibly rare, but when found and authenticated, they can be worth thousands. There's also the clipped planchet error, which happens when the coin blank was incorrectly cut and results in a coin with a distinctive crescent-shaped clip. These mistakes are immediately visible and, if well defined, can fetch high prices at auction, and while errors are exciting, let's not underestimate the power of condition. Coins that have never been circulated, never scratched or worn down, these are what collectors call mint state or uncirculated coins. The grading scale runs up to 70, and a coin graded MS 65 or higher is considered exceptional. Even without errors, a 1998 quarter in perfect mint condition is already much rarer than people think. After all, most quarters get tossed into vending machines, rubbed against other coins in pockets, and worn down over years of use. A flawless coin is a survivor, and collectors know it. And here's something many collectors love to see: natural toning. That's when the coin develops beautiful hues of gold, blue, purple, or pink from the way it was stored. Unique toning can add serious character and even more value to a coin. So what happens when you find a 1998 Washington quarter that checks all the boxes: rare error, perfect mint state, possibly even certified by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC? Well, one such coin recently made headlines in the coin collecting world. This quarter had an extremely rare mint error, pristine condition, and eye-popping luster. When it was evaluated and graded by experts, its value far surpassed what anyone expected for a quarter from the late 20th century. That one single coin sold for a jaw-dropping $75,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $75,000. For a coin that started out as 25 cents. So before you overlook that pile of change on your dresser, or hand a quarter to a cashier without thinking, take a closer look. It might not just be spare change. It might be a key to unlocking a collector's dream. If you loved this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more exciting coin discoveries, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a chance to learn what treasures might be hiding in your pocket. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy hunting, and may your next quarter be worth a fortune.